We moved to the Eastern Division, owned by Florida for the last 2 years, but Gator fans not extremely happy with the output of the offense, and especially at the quarterback position, and considering that they really haven't been able to compete with the elite teams, losing 4 consecutive games to Florida State, being manhandled by the Crimson Tide in the SEC championship game. Tennessee, it appeared as though last year needed to be their window of opportunity, as they had brought in those recruiting classes one after one after one, and then they had matured those teams from under 500 to 7-6 to 9-4 to 9-4, and they seem to have grown up together. And that was their year to capitalize with Josh Dobbs at quarterback, and they won the key game against Florida, the one that everyone pointed to, and then they're dropping games to South Carolina and Vanderbilt. And then, of course, you've got Georgia in the mix, lackluster 8-5, but I think the momentum's headed their way with Kirby Smart bringing in a great recruiting class, and Jacob Eason expected to be much better as a sophomore. So they're the 3 prime contenders.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Mark. Great insight for you. I think I'll go down the row. I mean, I have Georgia as the best team in this conference. Couple of factors why. It does come down to the quarterback position. Yeah, Jacob Eason struggled for much of the year last year in the early part of the season, but I feel like Kirby Smart made the right decision in starting him in 2016. Let's be honest. The reason why Georgia got rid of Mark Richt is that he couldn't take them over the hump. So if Kirby Smart were to start Grayson Lambert last year and the team limped to another 9-3 or 10-3 year, that's exactly what Mark Richt did previously in his tenure. It was imperative that he started Jacob Eason last year, sort of, I want to say, of a rebuilding year, not a lot of expectations with a first-year coach. He got the game experience. He got better as the year progressed. He threw 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in the last 8 games of the year. He weeded out the guys that fit his type of style offensively and defensively. And if you look at the way the defense played last year, 23 of the 29 sacks under Kirby Smart came in the last 8 games of the year. To me, that shows that he understood his progression and understood how he was understood his scheme in the program. And for me, that's why I like Georgia this year. I think that when you look at Georgia, they have Nick Chubb, they have Sony Michel. I think Terry Godwin's a guy that's really going to break out in 2017. And I think this team, from an offense and defensive lines, really is the most complete team in the country.
One of my favorite bowl games to watch, very under the radar last year, Georgia TCU, because I was looking at Jacob Eason, and I was almost thinking at that point, Joe, it's almost been a blessing in disguise that Sony Michel and Nick Chubb got nicked up and stayed in college another year. Now we got to see in the second half of that game, when they came back from 9 or 10 points down, what that team could look like with Jacob Eason coming off play action when everybody's focused on Chubb and Michelle. And sure, he threw some wild passes. He's a young quarterback, but man, he showed off his strong arm. They had Chubb and Michelle both running for close to 100+ yards. And you got a glimpse of what Georgia could be. Now they got 9 starters coming back on defense. Dominic Sanders leads that secondary along with Malcolm Parrish. Yeah, I'm right there with you. You've sold me on Georgia. I think they're an extremely under the radar team to possibly make some noise on the national scene.